Hello, my name is Palsvig. I'm the chairman of a Danish political party called JFK21. Last Friday, Denmark closed down. It was announced by our Prime Minister and a group of people all dressed in black. They were pretending to be mourning, but I personally believe that they were celebrating. They were celebrating that Denmark now is a de facto fascist state. It started, of course, in 2001 with the Patriot Act after the false flag attack of 2 planes and 3 towers, where we lost a lot of our civil liberties and alienable rights. And then a year and a half ago, we had legislation put out in Denmark where you can be jailed for up to 5 years if you criticize NATO. And considering that we have been supporting NATO's illegal wars of destruction in a number of countries, that is obviously taking away a lot of our freedom. And now, with last week, in one day, they came out with legislation that takes out even more. They are now allowed, if only they have a suspicion that someone has the corona virus, they are now allowed to go into your home, take you away, lock you up, and forcefully vaccinate you. This is fascism beyond the wildest dreams of people like Adolf Hitler. Not even Nazi Germany were allowed to do this legally. Nazi Germany did not have a dictatorship overnight. It was implemented over a period of time of 12 to 15 years, democratically, step by step, just like we have done over the last 15, 20 years. So I believe this is why they were celebrating, because these people, they are all fascists. They all voted unanimously for the legislation last week. Standing ovation. Just like when? Just like in 1933 in Nuremberg, right? They also voted unanimously for the law against protesting against NATO. They also voted unanimously to destroy Libya. We have all the parties in our parliament are fascist, all of them. Now this corona legislation is the government pretending to care, pretending to look after the Danish population. They want to lock down Denmark so that when the corona, nobody has a cold, because what is the corona? The corona is a flu. And we had a flu 2 years ago that killed 2,000 people. Denmark did not close down. Now this corona has killed 2 people who are 90 years old, cancer patients. And whilst that is tragic, it is over the top to close down Denmark. And it's fake empathy, which is all these globalists and banksters they have for the population. They are robbing blindly. It's all fake empathy because they pretend to be fighting the corona, but what about the different national diseases that we suffer, such as depression, anxiety, sleeplessness, medicine addiction? There's nothing being done to combat that. It's also very, very curious that only famous people gets this corona. It's very strange. I made a post in the JFK21 Facebook group where I asked if anybody knew anybody who were not famous who had caught the corona. And to be fair, there were a couple of people. So it's not only famous people. What do we know about the corona? Well, we know the corona is it's a flu. We know that there is a patent on it. We also know that it's been manufactured in a lab. I've been told that there is a vaccine for it already. We also know that the corona has killed people in areas where where 5G has been implemented. So Wuhan was the first place in China where they implemented the 5G. This was done the 31st of October last year with 50,000 5G masts. And 31st of October is incidentally the largest and most important satanic holiday. Might be a coincidence. We also know that northern Italy, a lot of people died from this corona, where they have 5G, in Iran, where they have 5G, in South Korea, where they have 5G. So there is certainly a lot of speculation whether this corona, this flu, is being provoked by the microwave radiation. Now, what do the governments propose as a cure for you? Well, and the government, I mean the corporate government we have and the big pharmaceutical corporations, they propose that you wash your hands and go into isolation in voluntary quarantine. Now, what would real doctors suggest? Well, they suggest that you boost your immune defense. I'm not going to go into details in this video with what that might be, but we could look at China. What worked for them? They are now down to between 10 and 20 new cases every day, so pretty much out of a population of 1.3 billion people, you could argue that the corona has been defeated in China. They have just closed down the last of their temporary hospital facilities. Well, what did the Chinese do? Well, they did two things. They imported tons and tons of vitamin C and distributed to their population, and they turned off the 5G. So this is interesting. Now, what is the agenda by the powers that shouldn't be? Well, for sure, they want to have the New World Order. They want to have a global dictatorship, so they're going to use this to say, look, we managed to lock down and defeat the corona because we work together globally on this, and that's why we need a global government to fight these global problems. And we need a cashless society because if you use cash, there might be a corona on the bill. So it's better to have cashless society, which is what they want. They want to create a surveillance state so they can make sure that nobody gets sick. They want to have forced vaccinations as well. And all this is basically, this is dictatorship and fascism. And they also do this because why they have this, made so much fuss about this minor flu, this corona. The reason why they made so much fuss about it is because when people drop dead, if they manage to put up the surveillance surveillance grid and kill grid, the 5G rollout, they will be able to say, oh no, it's not 5G that killed these people, it's the corona. That's what they will be saying. And because they control the media, the fake mainstream media, that's what a lot of people, if not most of the people, will believe, sadly. So this is the agenda. They're setting up for killing a lot of people with this 5G because it's lethal. 5G is a weapon. It was developed by the weapons industry. And a lot of globalists and banksters, they talk openly about depopulation. I will not go further into this in this video. I have made other videos about that subject. Now, this, I think, is the realistic and tough view on what's going on. Well, there is a slightly more, a lot more optimistic view, which I'm hoping is true. I don't know, but I'll put it out there because we will know within the next few weeks. Let me just check if yes, it is. It seems to be working. So there's another optimistic view, and that is called Q. You may not have heard about it, but there is a theory that there is a resistance against the deep state, against the powers that shouldn't be, started by people in the US Navy. And they want to jail the deep state actors, the bad actors, all the people owning the central banks, the people owning the military-industrial complex, the people involved in human trafficking, in prostitution, in drugs, in poisoning our food and medicine and so on. And it's interesting that so many CEOs have been stepping down over the last few years, and particularly the last week. It's the CEOs of Microsoft, McDonald's, Disney, LinkedIn, and a number of the largest corporations in the world. It's also interesting that Trump is locking down all flights to Europe, yet he's allowing 20 to 30,000 soldiers, troops, to fly to Europe. Only last week to engage in exercise, military exercises. And they are landing in Italy. It's also interesting that one of the largest mafia families in southeastern Italy, 100 small families, have been jailed. And at the same time, a few years ago, they jailed the MS-13 mafia in America, and now they have jailed another one called, I believe it's called C&JN mafia, which are dealing in drugs and used as hitmen for the deep state. And what is in Italy? Why did they send 20,000 soldiers to Italy? Well, you have the Vatican. And the Vatican have been infested with some very bad people, some pedophiles. The second in command in the Vatican has been jailed last year for being a pedophile in Australia. And there are rumors that the Queen has abdicated, is about to abdicate. I don't know whether that's true or something to look into. And then this thing about only famous people getting the adrenochrome. Now, I'm a former investment banker, so you can say I'm a professional gambler in a way. I've been for more than 25 years betting on the financial markets. I'm a specialist in financial instruments, in fixed income, government bonds, futures, options, derivatives. And it's pretty much statistically impossible that of the first 50 people in Canada who catches the corona is the Prime Minister's wife, Sophie Trudeau. And it's pretty impossible that of the first 100 people catching the corona in America is Tom Hanks and his wife. And in Greece, it's the owner of the largest football club, Olympiacos. And in England, the health minister and the coach for Arsenal Football Club. And in Denmark, Thomas Kallenberg, another football player. What is it with football? Why is it only football players? You have also football players in Germany and Sweden catching it. There is a theory that, and I don't know whether it's true obviously, but there's a theory that the white hats, the Q movement, the freedom fighters, they put in some corona virus into something called adrenochrome. And that's something for you to look into. Don't know whether that's true, but it's ADRENOCHROME. And incidentally, this Q movement, who have been making posts on a place called 4chan and 8chan, on a webpage called qmap.pub, they've been saying all the time, these people are sick. And now it rings quite hollow with this corona being out there and all the famous people being sick. A lot of people have been implying, even some people have been charging, I believe, Tom Hanks for being a pedophile. So that's something to look into. And also, this Q movement have talked about March madness. And interesting that there is a European travel ban of 30 days that ends the 10th of April 20. And in America, they say they put the months before the date, so it will be 04/10/20. And what is the 4th letter in the alphabet? What is the 10th letter of the alphabet? And what is the 20th letter? D, J, T. And whom do we know with those initials? DJT. Donald J. Trump. Probably a coincidence. And when did Trump lock down America? Friday the 13th. And what happened on that day in the 13th century? That was the French government that closed down the Knights Templars organization and put Jacques de Molay on the stake. And also, incidentally, coronavirus is shortened and called the CV. CV, that C is number 3 and V is number 22. I want you to look into what 322 is and what that means for the deep state bad actors. Something to look into. There's a saying, symbols will be their downfall. And then in this Q movement, they talk about an economic reset, and that will be an economic reset for once to our advantage. See, normally the bad actors, the people who, the banksters and criminal globalists who owns our central banks, they have been doing a lot of economic reset over time, where they have stolen the wealth of people they have defeated, nations they have defeated. One of them was in 1992 in Russia, where they changed the money overnight and stole the entire wealth and all the savings of the nation, of all the citizens in Russia, which is why their standard of living collapsed totally. And the population fell with 25 million. A lot of it was through emigration, but at least 6 million Russians died in 10 years. The average age for men fell below 50. So these people are really, really evil. So there are rumors of this economic reset. I've seen reports of people showing that all of a sudden their student debt has been paid off, which is interesting. But again, we don't know whether this is true, but this is an optimistic view, and we will know within the next three months. I'm afraid we will be disappointed. It's a psyop, and we will have to do the fighting ourselves, and there won't be someone bailing us out, but it would be nice. It would be nice if that was the case. What do I predict though? Well, I predict that the equity market will go back up again. And I've been saying that there is not going to be a financial crash for the last 5 years, when everybody else, a lot of people have been predicting an economic crash, imminent economic crash. And I believe that they want the market to be going up because when people are spending, they are not looking into how money creation is done and all the illegal wars and all the fascism and all the legislation that takes away your liberties and your alienable rights. So I'm quite convinced that the equity markets will go back up again within a few months at the max. And also I believe the corona will be over within a few months, if not a few weeks. And then the governments will congratulate each other, saying, look how the way we worked together and closed everything down, the way we took a global approach, and this is why we should have a global government and forced vaccinations, and the people should just trust the government. This is what they will do. So what can we learn from this corona debacle? Well, I believe we can learn from this corona debacle that globalism is really, really scary. Really, really scary. And we can learn that globalism is the same as totalitarianism and dictatorship and fascism. We can also learn that it's very easy to bail out the economy. Why? Because the government can always print more money, and we saw them doing it in 2008. And if they can print out thousands of billions of dollars and euros to bail out the banks, they could have bailed out you as well. They could have bailed out all the small businesses, couldn't they? They could have, and we know that. And they know that we know that, which is another reason why they are doing what they're doing right now, cutting interests in Denmark to negative rates, and in America to 0.5%, I believe it is. So I think that they will bail out the economy because they want the population they want to say to the population, look, we looked after your health with the corona, we looked after the economy, even though there was this crash because of this horrible disease that was started not because of us, and we fought to fight it, and then we got the economy back up, so you can trust us with the economy and your health. Nothing to see here. That's what they will do. So basically, the government can always print more money, and this is not going to be a video about money creation, but as long as you have idle hands and you have resources, then you can produce more and you can create welfare and a higher standard of living. This is the secret that the powers that shouldn't be does not want you to know. But now we have found out because we have seen them do it in 2008 and again now after the corona crash. And we can also learn from this corona debacle that free healthcare is probably the best, because we all deserve to be healthy, of course. And the world is abundant and we can afford it. Of course we can. And we have to make sure that all humans are being treated. And I also think we should have, we can learn that we should have a citizen dividend, because at the moment it's only the public service workers who get sent home with full pay, and workers who work in multinational or large corporations. But people who are working in smaller corporations, they don't get a salary, and you have a lot of small corporations that might go bankrupt and close down over these 3-4 weeks when the economy is closed down, and they're not getting bailed out. So I think a citizen dividend, and I'm not a bleeding heart communist, far from it. I'm a former investment banker, but I think that every human being owns the money creation, and we should all benefit from the money creation. That's something to look into. If you want to read more about it, you can go to our political party's homepage, jfk21.dk, and Google Translate it. I also believe we should nationalize all big pharmaceutical corporations who have been fined more than $1 billion fines for fraudulent research and committing crimes against humanity. And again, I'm not a bleeding heart socialist. I just don't think that evil people should profit from people being sick. So I think you should nationalize these bad actors who are profiting from other people's misery, and then they should be government owned, and money should be set aside to research in cures instead of medicine that is only used to treat symptoms so they can make money out of sick people. It's not a coincidence that more than half of the population now is chronically ill of some sort. It's not a coincidence. It's by design. So I want to appeal to you that you study, look into all the things that I've been talking about. So I'll put in a lot of literature in a literature list below, in the links below the video. And I encourage you to go to our homepage, jfk21.dk, and take whatever you like, whatever you can use, and talk to your own local politician, or in your own political party, wherever you may be. And let's fight globalism. Let's fight for freedom for human beings, for the right to a dignified life in welfare and good health. So thanks a lot for listening, and God bless.